One small misunderstanding. One sentence taken the wrong way. And suddenly, two people who care deeply about each other feel miles apart. My name is Maya, and in today's video, we are going to talk about how to handle misunderstandings without damaging your relationship. Because the truth is, misunderstandings don't destroy relationships. The way we react to them does. Almost every relationship, healthy, loving, long-term ones included, goes through misunderstandings. Not because people are careless, but because no two humans think, feel, or interpret the world in exactly the same way. What hurts isn't the misunderstanding itself. What hurts is silence, defensiveness, assumptions, and the emotional distance that slowly grows when things are left unresolved. So before we talk about how to fix misunderstandings, we need to understand why they happen in the first place. Most misunderstandings are not about words. They're about meaning. When someone speaks, they're not just sharing information. They're sharing emotions, past experiences, expectations, and unspoken needs, all wrapped into a few sentences. And when the other person listens, they're filtering those words through their own emotional lens. This is where things go wrong. For example, one partner says, "You've been really busy lately." What they mean might be, "I miss you." But what the other person hears is, "You don't care about me anymore." Same sentence. Completely different emotional interpretations. And instead of asking for clarity, most people react immediately. They defend. They explain. They counterattack. That's the first silent relationship killer, reacting instead of understanding. When a misunderstanding happens, our nervous system often goes into protection mode. We feel judged, blamed, or misunderstood ourselves. So we try to protect our ego instead of protecting the connection. Healthy couples do the opposite. They pause before responding. They understand one powerful truth. Being understood is important, but understanding first is what keeps love safe. One of the most damaging habits in relationships is assuming intent. We hear something painful and instantly decide, "They said that to hurt me. They don't respect me. They don't care how I feel." But in most cases, people are not trying to hurt their partner. They're trying to express something and doing it imperfectly. Misunderstandings become dangerous when curiosity is replaced by conclusions. Instead of asking, "Can you help me understand what you meant?" people say, "So you think I'm useless? So now I'm the problem?" Notice the difference. One invites connection. The other invites conflict. If there's one habit that can save a relationship from unnecessary damage, it's this. Slow down the conversation when emotions rise. You don't need to solve everything immediately. You don't need the perfect words in the moment. And you definitely don't need to win the argument. You need emotional safety. Pausing doesn't mean avoiding the issue. It means choosing the right moment and mindset to address it. Sometimes the healthiest response to a misunderstanding is simply saying, "I'm feeling overwhelmed right now. Can we talk about this when we're calmer?" That single sentence can prevent days of emotional distance. Another reason misunderstandings hurt relationships is because people confuse impact with intention. Someone might say something without realizing how deeply it affected their partner. When the partner expresses hurt, the response is often, "That's not what I meant." And while that may be true, it doesn't erase the impact. Healthy communication allows space for both realities. You can say, "I didn't intend to hurt you, but I see that it did, and that matters to me." That's not weakness. That's emotional maturity. When misunderstandings happen repeatedly, they often point to a deeper unmet need. Not being heard. Not feeling appreciated. Not feeling emotionally close. Instead of focusing only on the surface issue, strong relationships ask a deeper question. What is this moment really about? Is it about the comment? Or is it about feeling ignored lately? Is it about the tone? Or is it about feeling emotionally unsafe? When couples learn to address the underlying need, misunderstandings lose their power. Another important shift is learning to express feelings without blame. There's a huge difference between saying, "You always misunderstand me," and saying, "I feel disconnected when we don't clarify things." One creates defensiveness. The other invites empathy. Misunderstandings become destructive when both people try to be right instead of trying to be close. Being right might feel good for a moment, but closeness is what builds trust over time. And trust is what allows relationships to survive difficult conversations. Remember this, clarity is kinder than assumption. Asking questions is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you value the relationship more than your ego. When you replace accusation with curiosity, something powerful happens. The conversation softens, defenses drop, and both people feel safer opening up. Misunderstandings don't need to turn into emotional wounds. They can become moments of deeper understanding if handled with patience and care. And the good news is, these skills are learnable. They don't require perfect communication. They require intention. In the next part, we'll talk about practical ways to respond during misunderstandings, what to say, what to avoid, and how to repair emotional damage before it becomes distance. Because love doesn't need perfection. It needs awareness, empathy, and the willingness to listen. Even when it's uncomfortable. When a misunderstanding happens, what you say in the first few minutes matters more than you realize. Not because the words have to be perfect, but because the emotional tone you set decides whether the conversation heals or harms. One of the most effective ways to protect a relationship during misunderstandings is learning how to respond, not react. Reaction is instant. Response is intentional. A reaction sounds like, "You're not listening to me again. You always twist my words." A response sounds like, "I think we're understanding this differently. Can we slow down for a second?" That small shift changes everything. Another powerful skill is mirroring, repeating back what you think you heard before defending yourself. For example, "So what I'm hearing is that you felt ignored when I didn't reply earlier. Is that right?" This does two things at once. It shows effort, and it gives your partner a chance to clarify before emotions escalate. Most people don't need immediate solutions during misunderstandings. They need to feel heard. When someone feels understood, their emotional intensity drops naturally. There's also something important many couples overlook: timing. Trying to resolve a misunderstanding when one or both people are emotionally flooded rarely works. If your heart is racing, your voice is tense, or your thoughts feel scattered, it's okay to pause. Taking space is healthy. Taking space without reassurance is not. Instead of walking away silently, say something grounding like, "I care about us. I just need a little time to process so I don't say something I'll regret." That sentence preserves safety while creating space. Another common mistake during misunderstandings is bringing up past issues. Suddenly, one comment turns into a list of old hurts. When that happens, the conversation stops being about understanding and becomes about winning. Healthy communication stays focused on one moment at a time. If a past issue is still painful, it deserves its own calm conversation, not a surprise appearance during conflict. Repairing misunderstandings also means learning how to apologize effectively. A real apology is not about defending your intent. It's about acknowledging impact. Instead of saying, "I'm sorry you took it that way," say, "I'm sorry my words hurt you. That wasn't my intention, but I see how it affected you." That kind of apology doesn't weaken you. It strengthens trust. Another powerful tool is naming emotions instead of accusations. Accusations push people away. Emotions invite connection. Compare these two. "You don't respect me" versus "I felt dismissed in that moment." One attacks character. The other shares experience. Misunderstandings often repeat when couples don't talk about how they communicate. Some people need reassurance. Some need time to think. Some express emotions directly, others indirectly. None of these styles are wrong. But unspoken differences create confusion. Strong relationships talk openly about communication needs. Questions like, "What helps you feel heard during disagreements?" Or, "What makes conversations feel unsafe for you?" These conversations build a roadmap for future misunderstandings. Another important piece is learning to repair after the conversation, not just during it. Even when things are resolved, emotional residue can remain. A simple check-in later can make a huge difference. Something like, "I've been thinking about our conversation earlier. How are you feeling now?" That shows care beyond conflict. It reminds your partner that the relationship matters more than the disagreement. It's also important to remember that not every misunderstanding needs a long discussion. Sometimes clarity is enough. A quick, "Oh, that's not what I meant, thanks for checking," can prevent unnecessary tension. But that only happens when both people feel safe enough to ask instead of assume. One of the healthiest mindsets you can adopt is this: your partner is not your enemy during a misunderstanding. You're on the same team, trying to understand different perspectives. When couples approach misunderstandings as a shared problem instead of a personal attack, the dynamic shifts completely. Curiosity replaces defensiveness. Compassion replaces control. And over time, trust deepens. Misunderstandings handled well actually make relationships stronger. They teach emotional awareness. They build communication skills. They create deeper understanding. But only when both people are willing to slow down, listen, and stay emotionally present. Love isn't about never misunderstanding each other. It's about choosing connection when misunderstandings happen. It's about asking instead of assuming, listening instead of reacting, and caring more about understanding than being right. If you're in a relationship where misunderstandings feel frequent, that doesn't mean something is broken. It means there's an opportunity to grow. And growth doesn't come from perfection. It comes from patience, honesty, and effort. Handled with care, misunderstandings stop being threats and start becoming bridges. Bridges that bring two people closer, not further apart.